guys, and welcome to Trucking Along with Kearsey. That's me, your positive voice in trucking. I've gotten quite a few questions about how old is too old when you're coming into trucking. And Maureen and I had a conversation off camera about this because she mentioned some things I didn't consider. So we're going to talk about that today. A lot of people will write to me and say, well, I'm 45, is that too old? I'm 50, I'm 60. You know, how old is too old to get into trucking? And it's almost an impossible question to ask because people are at different stages in their life mentally. I mean, I know people that are 50 years old, but they have the mentality of somebody who's really old and they don't want to do things and they don't want to be uncomfortable. And like it or not, in this job, you are going to be uncomfortable. Case in point, Maureen and I shut down recently for high wind. We had a very light load and the gusts were 70 miles per hour. So we shut down. I found a place that was basically a gas station that had truck parking, but guess what? They were closed from like 9 o'clock at night till 6 in the morning. That means no bathrooms. That means they did have a porta potty, but you know, that's not comfortable. That's not something that you look forward to, you know. So if you have problems with issues like that, now solo, you have your little commode on the truck. A lot of places sell them. There's camping type of commodes you can buy. I talked about that in other videos. You know, we all know guys use bottles. You know, there are something called shiwis that women can use. But sometimes you have to make some kind of concessions out here. So if you're like one of those people that's old and set in your ways and you have a problem with flexibility and you want things your way and you want things perfectly, no. Doesn't matter how old you are, you're not going to do well out here. One thing that I considered was just what would be physically possible, physical challenges. You know, if you have knee problems, you have to really wonder and take into consideration, can you climb up in and out of the truck every day, several times a day? You know, you're going to be in and out of this truck constantly. Even though we're driving for 10 hours a day, you're also stopping to go to the bathroom, you're stopping to eat, to go to fuel. You know, you're going to have to do that. Another issue is jumping in the trailer. You can get a step ladder, but you're still going to have to be able to go up and down some kind of steps or a ladder to get in and out of the back of the trailer to secure that load. The deer guard. I have a deer guard that it kind of is a little tough. It's better than the last style that I had, but still, the deer guard is a little tough. Maureen struggled with it a little bit, and I think that every activity you do is going to use some kind of muscles, and if you're now using muscles that you've never used before, you're going to have to understand, you're going to have to build them up. You know, somebody came on one of my trucks when I had the manual, and he was training on the manual, and he was grabbing his calf saying, oh, the clutch, and I didn't, this sounds mean, he was in his 50s, but it didn't go through my head because I started at 41. I've been out here 5 years now. I didn't even think about the clutch. My leg muscles are so strong from basically loading all the mail into trucks and pushing 1,500 pounds and 2,000 pound containers of mail around at the post office before I came into trucking, that my legs are really strong. I never had a problem with the clutch. And this guy looked at me and goes, oh my God, there's 60 pounds of torque pushing back on that clutch. And I was thinking, yeah, the same clutch I've been using for 3.5 years. Oh, okay, thanks. It was almost like he thought that we drove a different truck or something. I don't know. But that might be something that you're going to consider. If you're going to go into a manual, can your muscles take that clutch? If you're going to automatic, you're still going to have to crank the dolly handle. You know, those can be really, when you're dropping the landing gear, this can be really tough. I actually think women have it easier, and people don't believe this, but just the other night I did a drop and hook, and the yard dog saw that I was a woman and said, "Oh, just drop that right here. I'll take care of it for you." And I was like, "Oh, that's so nice and sweet." And I went and, bobtailed and went to go get my paperwork. And when I came out, I saw a man struggling. And your dog went right on by him, and he was struggling to back into a hole, and he just went right on by him. So if you're struggling with the landing gear, you can ask a yard dog to come over and lift the trailer up so that you can crank it down. But not all customers have yard dogs. So if you're going to be one of those people that's going to be embarrassed to ask for somebody else's help, women usually don't have a problem asking for help. You guys know it. You don't even like asking for directions when you're lost. And then the woman sits there and goes, "Oh my God, there was a gas station back there. Why didn't you guys stop and ask for no? You've been lost for 2 hours." Come on. You know it. We all know it. So, if you're going to be one of those people that has a problem asking for help, you might not want to consider trucking. And it doesn't matter how old you are. You could be 30 years old. And if you don't have the upper body strength to crank that handle, you might have to go ask somebody for help. Doesn't matter, male or female. But those are some of the physical aspects. Sleep patterns, discussed this before. It's all over the place. And different people, like if you're on a dedicated route, you might have more of a schedule. If you're on dry van or flatbed, you might have more of a schedule. But me as reefer, there is no schedule. You're just all over the place. So you kind of got to sleep when you can. So somebody that's older that might require more sleep, you know your body better than anybody else. So are you going to be able to handle that? Something that Maureen brought up was elderly parents. So if you're in your 40s and 50s and you might have parents that are in their 70s and 80s and you're considering, coming out on the road, you have to be thinking ahead of time, what would I do if I had to go home? What about, assisted living care? What's going to happen? You need to think about that. You need to think about, God forbid, death. Have some kind of a plan in your head of what you would do and how you would handle trying to get home. I have a friend who's a lease op, and he called me one day and he asked me how Prime handles bereavement pay. Well, as a lease op, you're your own boss. And he was like, who do I talk to? So I gave him his own phone number. I said, hold on. And I texted him his own phone number. And he's like, what's this? I said, well, you're the boss. Go talk to the boss and ask the boss how to deal with bereavement pay. So these are things you have to think about. Also, training. If you're 60, are you going to want to get trained by somebody who's 35 or 40? Would you look at me and say, oh, she's too young, I'm not going to listen to her because I know better and I've lived so much more in life? And I'm not saying you couldn't get an older trainer. You could probably request one. But that doesn't necessarily mean because you request one that it's going to happen. And if you do get that younger trainer, now training doesn't last forever. You just got to push through it. But if you do get a trainer that's younger, are you going to be miserable if they're playing certain music that you don't like? Because let's face it, some of it just sounds like noise. But I think it comes down to every single person's different. I think it comes down to your attitude and how you handle life in general. If you're a miserable person, doesn't matter how old you are, if you're one of those people that never takes responsibility for yourself and your actions and you blame everybody else, it doesn't matter how old you are, you're going to suck at this. If you're the kind of person that even at 65 years old, you can sit here and say, okay, I'm going to learn, I'm going to take the advice of people that are younger, I'm going to, maybe, like I said, you might not be building up the muscles that you never used before. Maybe you have to lift a little bit of weight or something. Are you willing to do that? So it's funny because women usually ask me about how women get treated. People are older ask, well, how are you treated as an older person? You know, a lot of these people out here that come out into trucking, they're in their 40s and 50s. That's when they're coming because their kids are now grown. So if you're 40, 50, 60, don't feel like you can't do this. Don't feel intimidated, because you can absolutely do this. It's all about determination. It's about motivating yourself. It's about making a commitment, you know, and learning from learning from the right people. Get as much information you can, but also understand the information that you're getting. Know the people you're getting it from. And if you're watching me, then ask me. Because if I don't know, I'm going to go find the answer for you. As a trainer, I'm one of those type of people that I think that it's my responsibility to try to learn as much as I possibly can. And if I don't know the answer, I'll find it. And people have asked me about training and leasing and that type of thing, and company or lease, and or team or solo. As a trainer, I think my job is to teach the person to be whatever it is they want to be. So whether you want to go lease, you want to go company, you want to go team, you want to go solo, I'm going to have to cater my curriculum to what your needs are. So yes, you know, I do know a lot about leasing. I do know a lot about solo driving. I do know a lot about teaming. So I make it a point. I think one of the worst things I ever heard was that a student asked the trainer, do you need to put anti-gel in the DEF tank? And the trainer's response was, I don't know. I don't have a DEF tank, so go ask somebody who does. No, that's not a good trainer. That's boom, red flag. You don't want somebody like that. So, you know, surround yourself. It doesn't matter how old you are. Surround yourself with people who are willing to help you. You know, be willing to accept answers regardless of what your age is, and make that commitment, that determination, and you'll do great. And I want to say thank you so much. Like, comment, subscribe, ring the little notification bell, and I hope to see you out here trucking along. Bye.